I have 26 pets in my Hardcore Iron Man, and at the beginning of this year I set a goal out to achieve 5 new boss pets by 2024. Those pets in particular were the Nibbler, achieved through completing the Inferno, Hellfight Princess, Abyssal Orphan, Pet Dagannoth Supreme, and my personal favorite, the Sriracha-Cha-Cha. Upon completing this goal, we will become the new undisputed rank 1 Hardcore Iron Man pet holder, while also maintaining the rank 3 overall position on the high scores. Welcome to my 2023 Hardcore Iron Man journey, where I do a variety of content from skilling to PVM. Currently, we are at 3,150 subscribers, and if we as a channel can reach 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, I will set my sights on the Verzik pet and risk it all at the Theater of Blood. There you go, I said it. If you want it to happen, you know what to do. Like always, I've been spending most of my weekdays killing the Abyssal Sire. I have the Abbey Demons at the moment extended, which means we can get up to 250 or so Abbey Demons per task. And now one big thing that I learned this week is that the gear that I was using for Sire was not the most optimal. For those that don't know, I was using the Dragon Warhammer spec as well as the Arclight as a main weapon. And I was getting about maybe 18 kills an hour. I've now learned that there's another option. The new Osmunkton's Fang can be used on Sire, as well as Dragon Claws. So the idea is that you use the Osmunkton's Fang like high accuracy to hit through the Abyssal Sire's high defense, instead of Dragon Warhammering it and lowering its defense. And then, near the end of the kill, the part of the kill where you take the most amount of damage, you can claw spec it out and end that phase fairly quickly. Now I like this idea because, as I've alluded to, you're going to be shortening the final phase, the phase where I take the most amount of damage. Since starting to use the Fang as well as the Claws, I've found that the kills have sped up by a few every hour, and it's definitely a lot. There were times where my Dragon Warhammer wouldn't hit. I would say it hits like 70-80% of the time, but on the times that it wouldn't hit, that would mean the final phase would be pretty brutal. I would just hit 0 after 0 after 0, and with the new Fang, the high accuracy is huge. The last phase has gotten a lot more consistent because of the Fang's high accuracy, as well as the Claws. They also seem to always hit. And when they do hit, they hit like a 300 XP drop every time. That's the big changes that we've done at the Abyssal Sire. That's definitely sped up our kills an hour, which is huge for the Sire pet grind. We've gone from about 2,300 to 3,000 KC now at the Abyssal Sire. I've gotten, I think, 6 new Unsireds just this week. I've now completed 6 total bludgeons, and I've gotten 3 jars as well as a few other misc items like whips and daggers and heads. But yeah, so we have 6 completed bludgeons at 3,000 kill count, and I also now have the Abyssal Sire pet. And let me tell you the story. On the previous kill, we had gotten an Unsired on 2,999. And that Unsired, I believe, gave us an Abyssal Whip. Pretty sad. And then we went right back and got the back-to-back Unsired on 3,000 kill count. Now this was the first time where I was actually using my Unsired on the pool, and I fully expected to get the pet, because it was too perfect. Back-to-back Unsired, 3,000 on the dot KC. There's just no way. Everything is just lining up perfectly for the pet drop. And lo and behold, we got the Abyssal Sire pet, marking our 27th total pet on the hardcore. And this is huge because this pet was taking up the majority of my time. I would spend every weekday, 5 days straight, 2 hours a night, killing the Abyssal Sire in my free time. And now this has opened us up to so many more Slayer tasks. Now I can transition to doing the barrage method, barraging the Abyssal Demons. I haven't decided yet if I want to do the spellbook swap method, where you use spellbook swap and you can barrage as well as use the ash spell at the same time. It's pretty sweaty. I haven't tried it yet, so maybe we'll see how that goes. But if I don't like that method, I'll just do the barrage, bank the ashes, or use the barrage with the sanctifier. I gotta see which one is technically better, and then I'll do that. But yeah, maybe I'll try out spellbook swap. It just looks like it's a lot of clicking on each spell, because you have to manually cast every barrage, you have to manually cast every time you use the spell. And the ashes, which I guess you already had to do, but you gotta go through all the different interfaces. It can be quite a mess, but maybe after you do it a lot, it just becomes second nature. So yeah, I'll try that out. And now that Sire is completely done, we can go on to our next task, which our next boss task ended up being Kriara. We got like 160 something Aviancies. Now thank you to everyone who commented that I don't have to actually kill Aviancies to get KC at Kriara. There's also the option of killing spiritual warriors. Those count towards the 40 kill count, without taking away from my Slayer task. And I have also seen some comments about necks. That's alright, I'm just gonna keep to this method. I'll kill the spiritual warriors, so at least I can get more kill count per task. But to do the next stuff, I gotta go kill every single God Wars boss, get the key, and then kind of learn the next area, get next KC, learn how that works, get different. It's just a whole mess. I don't want to open up yet. Right now, I want to get all the Armadyl pieces. Then we can look at doing the next method, like the next banking method, while we go for the Armadyl pet at some point. Next big news that I have is during this Aviances task, I was killing Kriara, and I actually got my first ever unique. So I'll just do a little reminder for everyone that doesn't know about my past Iron Man. I have 450 kill count on that Iron Man, and it has no uniques from Armadyl, and now I have over 200 KC on this account with no uniques until yesterday, where I got the Armadyl chaps on 216 kill count, which means that I could break it down and upgrade my Missouri, completely fortifying it. Now that means when I go to Sarachnis, I no longer have to wear the Karo's leather skirt. I can wear the new fortified Missouri chaps. And now at the recording of this video, I have 100 and something Aviances left on task. So hopefully we can get another piece while we complete this task and potentially upgrade our chest plate next. And now the last little update is Herblore. And as some of you might know, I've been doing Herblore whenever I can, whenever I have some free AFK time. I'm always trying to just hit up the bank and make some potions. And I've been doing it quite a bit at work. And now this year we've already completed around 9 mil XP in Herb. So we're sitting at 46.5 or so million Herb XP. And we're well on our way to 100 mil. I've almost gone through all of my irrits. I have a few thousand left. And then we'll be moving on to the next potion. Now I have about 20,000 of each secondary, so I can go through all the strength pots, mage pots, ranging pots, making the super combat pots, and as well as a few others. So we should be set for probably another 20 mil XP or so. However, there's about 10-15 mil XP that I still need to gather in secondaries, so I'm going to have to start going to Sarachnis to get some red spider eggs. As well, I'm going to have to start farming snape grass so I can make the agility potions out of my Aventos, because there's no chance that I'm going to go to Mortania and start picking up more Mire fungus. I'll just farm snape grass because I also need the farming pet, and that'll also maybe help me get some farming XP as well as get the pet. And it's a lot more tied into my farm runs than going out of my way and spending an entire day with my silver sickle and getting more Mire fungus. If I had the marks of grace to turn each super energy pot into a stamina, then maybe I'd go and get all the mushrooms that I need. But at the moment, I only have enough for maybe 1,000 staminas because I don't do much arty roofs. I like to stick to sepulcher when I can and get agility through barbarian fishing. And now the last thing I'll talk about is the new boss, because I'm sure a lot of people are going to be asking, am I going to do the new boss? I know I set my goals out at the start of the year, but that was before the new boss was released. And I will say, I definitely plan on getting that pet at some point, not because the pet looks crazy cool and I really want it, but just because I think it's a pet that's doable, because the boss isn't that difficult from what I've seen. It's not that risky. I'd say it's a little easier than Vorkath in terms of survivability, but it's a little harder than a Chemical Hydra because there are some mechanics that are a little more intricate. Specifically, I'm talking about the part where you have to like flick on smite for a second and then flick it back to range. I'd say that part is where it gets a little more difficult than Hydra. It looks like the rest of the fight's fairly simple. You just kind of kite the boss and run around the room and attack it, and then hide behind some pillars and make sure you move from the spike that appears on the ground. That's similar to Olm's crystal attack. Just getting the timing down for that, and it should be fairly easy to dodge. But yeah, so looking at the boss, just seeing some highlights, it doesn't seem like it's that dangerous. I have seen that it can hit like 70s, but it's only if you like miss a very telegraphed attack. Now the Phantom Musfa has many different rewards. First we'll mention the uniques. So there's a new bow, which I don't really have a use for. Maybe luring Slayer creatures or something, but honestly that's not really in my interest. And now the big update that interests me from the Phantom Musfa is the Saturated Heart, which is obtained through adding 150,000 Ancient Essence to the Imbued Heart. Now for those that don't know, I have 3 Imbued Hearts, so I already have that. I have the hard part out of the way, but I need to get the Ancient Essence, and you get this through killing the boss. It's similar to Zulrah. You kill Zulrah, you get scales, and those scales you use to charge your blowpipe and such. Whereas this, you get the Ancient Essence, get that to charge your Imbued Heart, and make it become a Saturated Heart. And my understanding is once it's saturated, it's permanent. I don't think there's any charges associated with it. I think once you add the 150,000 essence, it's permanently the Saturated Heart. The main difference between the Saturated Heart and the Imbued Heart is that you get an extra 3 magic levels, to my understanding. It's a 4 plus 10% of your level instead of a 1 plus 10% of your level. Now, I'm not sure if this 10% of your level is calculated before or after you add that 4. I'm not sure about that, but I assume it's just 3 levels higher. But the thing is, it has the divine effect, which means your magic level doesn't decrease every minute. Instead, it stays at the maximum boost for 5 minutes. So instead of the 7-minute cooldown that the heart had, it now has 5 minutes, so 2 minutes shorter, but it stays at the maximum the entire time. So it's a pretty big buff. Now, there's not really anywhere in particular that I use the imbued heart, I would say. I was really only using it at sire, but I'm sure something will come up and I'll find a use case for it. Like, it's worth 53 mil right now, right? So there's clearly places to use it at. Now, next I'll talk about the new Ancient Staff upgrade. There's a 1 in 50 chance from the Musfa that you get an Ancient Icon, and this icon can be used on the Ancient Staff to upgrade it into the Ancient Scepter, I believe it's called. Now, my Nightmare Staff that I currently use to barrage at Slayer, I believe only gives a 5% damage buff, which the Ancient Scepter also gives a 5% damage buff, but it has a unique effect of giving a 10% buff to ancient magic spells. If I ever do the quest, which hopefully at some point I do when I grind this boss out, I'll be excited to get this drop because I'll have a new best in slot weapon to barrage because I don't have the Kodai wand yet. It's very easy to get this, it's a 1 in 50 drop, than it is to get the Kodai insignia from Chambers. And now the Phantom Musfa doesn't just have only uniques, it also has an interesting drop table of random supplies, which are kind of good for Iron Men. Things I want to focus on are the actual drops, like the weapons and armor, the rooms and ammunitions, seeds and stuff, because you get a decent amount of alks from this boss. You're going to get dragon plate skirts, dragon plate legs, and I believe you get 3 dragon plate legs at once, and you get 3 rune plate legs at once, and 3 rune kite shields at once. So these are decent alks. The big thing is 666 cannonballs, which I don't even know why it's on that table. It's very random, but I guess that's a bonus. Now, in terms of herbs, there's not really many good herbs. You only get a few Lantidymes, a few dwarf wheat and Catentine and Quorum, but you get a ton of Toadflax. For some reason, you get 74 noted Toadflax. Now, I haven't done the boss, so I'm not sure if this number on the wiki is just an average, or if you actually just get 74 every time, which would be pretty crazy. 74 Toadflax, as well as 31 Snapdragons. You get a lot of Toadflax, just about half as much Snapdragon, and like barely any of the other herbs, which Toadflax in particular is interesting because the secondary you get through birdhouses, which can be done basically 0 time as you get 200 mil hunter. That secondary is very easy to get. Now seeds, I think the only ones worth noting are the 10 Renard seeds and the 5 Torstal. In terms of resources, that's where things get a little crazy. You get 22 noted adamant ore, not too impressive. I mean I was killing Sarachnis and getting more than that. You also get 180 gold ore, 22 noted teak planks, 89 molten glass, 100 and something coal, 23 noted runite ore. Now that's pretty good. That's about 260k. Limp roots, which means I wouldn't have to farm limps as much, as well as you get a decent amount of dragon bolts, water orbs, and mana rays. Now these supplies all sound great and all. From just looking through this, there are so many different drops available that it just diminishes the amount of times you hit those resource drops. So there's not one thing in particular you're gonna get a lot of. I think the reason to be doing this boss would just be to get the dragon bolts. So maybe getting the dragon bolts from here, so then I could go to Nex and farm it with the Zarite crossbow. I think that would be the only reason I could see myself coming here, because it's a safe, easier way of getting a ton of dragon bolts. That's about it. If I were to go to this boss, it'd just be for the uniques and get some dragon bolts. The rest is just kind of a little bonus, a few mil. It just reminds me of like Thermi. Doing 13,000 Thermi, I just got a bunch of random crafting supplies. This is probably going to be about the same thing. Just works out to be a couple mil of XP here or there. It's not going to be just the best source of crafting, right? So I think it's a pretty balanced drop table. It seems like uniques are fairly common, so you're going to get the uniques fairly early, but you're going to have to keep farming the boss to get the essence to keep charging the uniques, right? So you're going to be farming this boss not necessarily for uniques at some point because you already have them. So having a decent drop table along with it is fairly important. And I think this is a very balanced table. And that's about all I wanted to cover in this week's progress update. We got the Sire pet along with the Armadyl chaps, so we've now upgraded the Missouri, and now we're just hunting more Slayer tasks, trying to get the other Slayer pets. And who knows, maybe you'll see me at the Phantom Musfa or whatever in the coming weeks, grinding that. but no promises. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you're new here. I'll see you guys next week. If you want to catch me live on Twitch, I also stream every day. And I hope you have a great rest of your day, and thank you for watching.